Fire Call, the fire safety show with Division Chief Jim Sedaris.
Hi, my name is Division Chief Jim Sedaris, and you're watching Fire Call, and we are all over Sioux Falls Fire Rescue this month. You're going to be going behind the scenes. You're going to talk to the chief about new applicants. You're going to talk about female firefighters. You're going to meet our operations chief, John Groan. You are going to meet one of the fire inspectors, talk about all our community projects. Truck of the month, got a new one, brand new truck, we just got it in. But before we get to that show, got some shout outs, and they're tough. So be patient. The first one comes from Christopher. Christopher lives in Wynwood, Pennsylvania. He wants a shout out to the Penn Wynn Station 21 in Lower Marion Fire Department, Lower Marion Township, Pennsylvania. Whew, got that one out. And this is one of our Canadian friends. I know it's got to be cold up there, as it is down here, and I feel sorry for you. This one comes from Tim. Tim lives in LA, Manitoba, Canada, and he wants a shout out to the, and I'm assuming it says RM, I'm assuming that's the Royal Mounted of Cartier Fire Department in LA, Manitoba, Canada. So this one for you. Now we're using your questions, using your shout outs. We got new sassy shirts. Went to the yellow. Little change for you. So if we use your question, use your shirt, or use your question, use your shout out, you get a shirt. So sit back, turn off all the electronic gear except for Fire Call. So let's go to the show. We have lots of questions about driving fire trucks, and everybody seems to want to know, how do you do it, how do you train, and what's the best way to do that? I have with me one of our drivers. His name's Robert Dykstra, and you've been driving for how long?
I've been driving for a little over 2 years.
And you've been on the department since?
It'll be 7 years in April, so just about 7.
What did you do before that?
Well, I had various jobs. I was delivering propane for a while, driving a propane truck. I did that for about 5 years, and prior to that, I worked for a county highway department where I operated various equipment.
And how do you like being on Sioux Falls Fire Rescue?
Love it.
Great job, isn't it?
You bet.
Can't beat it.
Love it.
But now the questions.
Now the hard part.
Okay, Robert, this first question is from Austin. Austin lives in Jacksonville, Florida, and he would like to know about training our drivers. And he wants to know specifically, do you use virtual reality or you use actual driving? Now, virtual reality is computer-based driving.
Well, we go through courses out at the training center. Our training center staff lines that up where we go out, have some classroom, and then we actually do actual driving out there under the direction of the training center staff.
Now, being that you've been a driver, all kinds of conditions, which do you think would actually probably be better to really get the feel of moving a truck around?
The actual feel, it's always nice to drive the actual truck. And as our drivers, or what we call our want-to-be drivers, those that are going through the training, once in a while during the day we'll allow them to drive also. If they're preparing for the driver's test, they want to get that training, they'll come up and ask me if they can drive, or I'll offer that chance to them, because I think that's important to get that hands-on training. Everything gets okayed through the captain, of course, and we may just go out and drive our territory looking for construction, anything like that.
And driving these trucks, how long is your truck today? Probably 40 some odd feet?
It's long. It's the big truck 3, so
you got, it takes a
wide turn.
Quite on a computer.
Yeah.
This next question comes to us from Jeff. Jeff lives in Pleasant Hill, California, and he would like to know, how fast do fire trucks drive when they go on a call, when they have lights and siren on? Code 3 for us. Now, it's going to vary depending on city to city.
Right.
But for Sioux Falls Fire Rescue?
According to our SOPs, operating procedures, we are to drive with the traffic at the recommended or the posted speed limit. We are allowed to go up to, but no more than 10 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Now, what are some associated problems you're going to have if you're driving a truck this big and people think we're just driving as fast as we can go? Why don't we do that?
Well, it's been proven that the distances we go, that extra speed really doesn't get us there that much quicker. And if you are driving too fast, then it's dangerous. We have the big trucks, large trucks, they weigh more. It takes a lot more distance to stop. So it's important that we always have that truck under our control.
This question is from Steve. Steve lives in Sioux Falls, and he knows what it's like here. He said, as a driver now, what you do is getting the rig to the incident, and also when we think about starting the first operations of what you're responsible for, he wants to know, what kind of challenges do you face when fighting fires and temperatures below freezing?
Well, I mean, you hit on that already. It's below freezing, so we have to worry about the water freezing up. We have to keep making sure the water is constantly moving. We keep our pumps, what we call wet, circulating the water. It doesn't take long on a day like today where it's below zero and the wind's blowing for water to freeze. And in some of our lines, without that water moving...
Our hoses that are running to a house or a building.
Correct. And so we usually crack the nozzle a little bit to make sure that that water is flowing, it doesn't freeze up. If the truck is not pumping, but we're on scene, maybe using the personnel or equipment off the truck.
Like an EMS call?
Correct. Then we may wet the pump, get water flowing to circulate it so it doesn't freeze up. So should anything happen later on in that call or even while we're returning to station, we're able to operate and do our job.
So because once this truck freezes up, the pump freezes or the lines freeze, they're not going to get thawed out there.
No, it takes a while to thaw out. And then, you know, somebody's in jeopardy, either the firefighters that are maybe in the structure fire or those people that we're trying to rescue. We just added to the problem.
Now, when you're driving to a call, like today, crews are going out and in and out all day long, what are some concerns you have as a driver getting to the scene when we have, like I said, days like today?
Well, like today, you know, you can come across some slippery spots, black ice. You have to be aware of that. As people move over, hopefully they move over out of your way. You have to.
And we want people to move over to what side?
To the right, please.
Yes.
We have to be, you know, watch them because we're still ultimately responsible for the operation of that truck, and we have to do so safely. So we have to watch and make sure that they are moving over, that they aren't causing any undue stress or, you know, uneasiness among other drivers and create an accident while en route. We want to make sure that they don't pull out in front of us, that they have their vehicle under control.
Sure.
If there's black ice or a slippery spot and all of a sudden they hit the brakes and hit the brakes too hard, they may go into a skid and create an accident.
And as you're going up on an accident, like we go on a lot of them, you don't want to slide in and make this problem worse.
No, we want to kind of ease into it. And then also we use the truck at the accidents to kind of block the scene and protect our personnel.
So what do you mean by that?
We will park the truck or the apparatus at an angle such that the scene is protected from the traffic. And what that does is that protects our crew. It just provides another safety measure for our crew. I kind of take that as our responsibility as drivers to do that, so that's one less thing our crew has to worry about, the captain and the firefighters. They've got enough on their mind providing either rescue or EMS that if I can make the scene a little bit safer by placing my truck
almost as a shield.
As a shield, where the traffic either has to go around or detours way off to the side, that's one less thing they have to worry about.
A lot of people get preoccupied. They're on their cell phones. They're looking at that call and they don't realize there's a firefighter right in front of them.
Right, and that's happened. You know, we hear about accidents, unfortunately, once in a while across the nation. And so, like I said, if we can place that truck where we're shielding our crew and keeping them safe, that's just doing our job that much better.
So your job is one of complexity, responsibility, and making sure everything happens without you.
Well, I mean, it's a crew.
Exactly.
It's still a team effort, but you know, everybody pulls together and we get the job done. So,
Robert, I'm glad we have you as driver.
All right, thank you.
Sioux Falls Fire Rescue has a great fire prevention bureau. They're doing all kinds of stuff, doing a lot of investigations. One of the fire inspectors is Dean Lanier, and you're fairly new to South Dakota so far.
Yes, I am.
What do you think of the weather?
Oh, downright balmy today.
So, Dean, tell us a little bit about your background. Where are you from? Kind of your fire prevention background a little bit.
Sure. Originally from Seattle, Washington. I joined the military and served in the Air Force for over 20 years.
Wow.
Retired from there and decided to settle here in Sioux Falls. So I've been here with the Fire Prevention Bureau about 18 months.
And what brought you to Sioux Falls besides the great people, the weather?
And the balmy weather? Actually, it was just an opportunity that presented itself. I had family that moved to this area, and after being in the military so long, we decided to settle here.
Great place to live.
Yes, it is.
Sioux Falls is a great city.
It is a beautiful city.
But people write us questions. We have a bunch of questions. One dealing primarily with the same issue. The first one's from Cecily. Cecily lives in Norway, and we are wondering what the temperature is in Norway today, because it's below zero here. Marissa lives in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Brian lives in Elmira Heights, New York. And last is Aaron. Aaron lives in T, South Dakota. And what they want to know is, what kind of services does Sioux Falls Fire Rescue provide the community? Community services that we might have, programs we might have. Dean, what do you think? What kind of programs do we have?
Sure. We have quite a few different programs. We have an Explorer program for grade school children, as well as juvie fire setters. We offer free CPR classes. Additionally, Fire Prevention Bureau offers grade school education Within that, we have our own fire safety house here.
What's a fire safety house?
The fire safety house is basically a home mock-up that we have. It's set on a trailer that we carry around town. It's primarily to demonstrate and have kids show us what actions they would take if they had a fire inside their home.
So we train them?
We reinforce through actual smoke scenarios, safe smoke, that what actions that they should take if they hear a smoke alarm go off inside their home.
Thanks, Dean. Didn't want to get you off track.
No problem. Last thing, we have free car seat checks for our citizens here in the city.
So if they don't know if their car seat fits, if they're low income and don't have a car seat, they can sure come in and we can fix them up.
Absolutely.
Perfect, Dean. Last question, and this is one we get on a regular basis. This one comes from Marshall. Marshall lives in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and he says, how does a person get a tour of a firehouse in Sioux Falls?
Well, that's quite simple. All you have to do is call our headquarters station at 367-8093. The clerks and technicians there will take your name and number, and they'll check out which station is the closest, let you know what times they have available, and they'll book you in for a free station tour.
How far in advance should someone call?
It'd be a good idea to give us 2 weeks notice.
We're pretty busy.
Because, yeah, you might catch them on a day that they're trying to do training, or they may actually be out of the station on a response. So it's the best thing to book ahead of time.
If someone does have a call, or someone does book a tour, and they do have a call, they might have to reschedule, but just like us, we're kind of sometimes just got to adjust and do your best.
Yep.
Dean, I'm glad you're here. Welcome to Sioux Falls Fire Rescue. Thanks for
here.
answering the questions.
No problem.
We have a shout-out, and we're going to ask some more questions. The shout-out is from Mike. Mike lives in Derby, New York, and he wants a shout-out to the Highland Hose Volunteer Fire Company in Derby, New York. And he has some questions, and we have a lot of questions. And to help me answer these is our operations chief, John Groen. How you doing, John?
Pretty good.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. We have a lot of questions, and they all kind of want to know the same thing. This first question, one is from Mike. Mike, we just talked about, lived in Derby, New York. Also, Paul. Paul lives in Burlington, New Jersey. Johnny lives in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Getting a lot of questions here. Nicholas lives in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And the last one of these is Sam. Sam lives in Lakeville, Massachusetts. And they all want to know, how many trucks do we have? You're the ops guy. You know this just top of your head. What do we got?
We have 3 engine companies that are staffed. We have 4 rescue companies and 4 truck companies.
And they're all staffed with how many people?
4 people on each of the vehicles.
Well, you told us how many we have in the station. What about those specialty trucks that we have?
Okay, we have a couple of wildland trucks.
And wildland are for?
Grass fires, urban interface, wildland fires. We also have some USAR trucks, the urban search and rescue.
Sure.
We have trucks and then some trailers that they pull because there's a lot of heavy equipment and gear.
Sure, for that trench rescue and collapse.
Yep, high angle. Yep. And we have 3 hazmat rigs, which also have trailers that they pull with gear. And we have 2 water tenders.
This next question is from Austin. Austin lives in Loudonville, Ohio, and he has a question. And also, same question is from Andrew. Andrew lives in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they want to know, talked about apparatus, but how many stations and how do we determine where do we put those trucks in the stations? And how many people do we have working in our stations?
Okay. Our typical station is a single crew station, which means 4 people. We do, however, have a couple of stations where we have 2 crews. And what we try to do is we spread them around town so that we have one of each of those types, an engine, a rescue, or a truck company, close to all areas of town. So when we have a fire alarm dispatch, we send the closest engine, truck, and rescue. So we have all the different types of equipment on scene in case we need the type of gear that they carry.
And when you're deciding where we need stations and what needs to go where, we can use something called GIS.
Correct.
Explain how that works.
Well, what those folks do for us, it's very, very valuable. They'll do maps for us, and they'll actually tell us how long it takes us to get to any part of town from our station. So we can look at their maps and know which truck can get there
and basically computerize it.
Yep. And that way we know we're sending the right truck to that area.
So there's no more of the old guessing game like when we started, well, we'll just draw a big circle and call it good.
We don't do that anymore.
And we can take into account interstate systems, all the roads?
The posted traffic speeds, all of that can be taken into account.
So it's very scientific. When we start thinking, here's how long it takes to get there, we pretty much have a pretty good handle on
We have a very good idea of who we need to send.
Thanks, John. Okay, this next question is from Chris. Chris lives in Melville, New York, and also from Wyatt. Wyatt lives in Sheldon, Iowa. And they would like to know, how do you decide what trucks to bring on a call? So we have, now obviously we have different types of calls, but how do we decide what are we going to bring, and then how do we determine that gets done as far as dispatching?
Well, we have a system. It's a CAD, computer-aided dispatch system. And within that system, there are run cards, and we tell it what type of unit to dispatch.
So if you have a fire, let's say we have a building fire, a single-story, single-dwelling family home on fire, the card would dispatch, and we would send what?
We would send one engine, and then also a rescue and a truck company, and then a command vehicle.
Which you're standing behind.
Right.
So you can list any type of situations then with those run cards, and it's a consistent way of then getting your vehicles there.
That is absolutely correct.
And half our calls are EMS, and for EMS, we're going to send, if it's just someone having chest pain or trauma, we're going to send just one truck, right?
Right. We're going to send the closest truck.
Well, just not even a couple hours ago, we had an extrication call. That's also on the run cards. What do we send for extrication?
We make sure that we send, it's basically like a fire alarm dispatch. We send at least a truck and a rescue and the truck that responds to that area of town. So usually there's 3 plus the command vehicle, so the battalion chief can take the incident over if he needs to.
And just for even extricate someone out of a car, that's a major incident for us when you talk about the complexities of preparing for EMS support of that patient, fire support, and then the extrication of it.
Right.
It gets to be pretty tough.
Yeah, very labor intensive.
What are some of the challenges that you have as an operations chief? This isn't a question, but people are going to ask. As far as your role, what are some of the things that you're concerned with on a day-to-day basis?
To make sure that we're getting there in time. You know, to maintain our accreditation standards, we need to make sure that we respond within 5 minutes and 12 seconds. And that means we have to have our stations in the proper locations and that the trucks are getting out the door in a timely fashion.
Getting everybody there. Well, that's why we've got a guy with broad shoulders like you, John. We get a lot of different questions about everything in the fire service. 2 questions involving women firefighters, and I have no one better to answer this question than Captain Heather Carlson. How you doing, Heather?
Good.
Now, you've been on the department for how many years?
10 years.
And you've gone through all the ranks, and you're at captain, and what's a captain do, kind of briefly?
Well, the captain is responsible for the crew.
Okay.
So each apparatus that we have has a crew assigned to it, and the captain is responsible for taking care of the daily tasks and assigning the tasks as needed once we are on an emergency incident scene.
So you're taking your crew in, fighting fire, working on EMS calls?
Yes,
So
exactly.
You ready for the tough questions?
I'm ready.
I'm ready, okay. This first question is from Sean. Sean lives in Northport, Florida. And Sean wants to know, quick question, how many women firefighters do we have, uniformed firefighters on Sioux Falls Fire Rescue?
There are 3 of us that are uniformed firefighters on Sioux Falls Fire Rescue.
Yep, that was an easy question, wasn't it?
That was easy.
Okay, this is a little tougher now. This question comes from Steve. Steve lives in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where it's a balmy -10 degrees out.
It's above 0.
Oh, finally.
It made it.
Woohoo! We're going to celebrate. Steve wants to know, what are the physical requirements expected of firefighters, and are the physical requirements the same for both male and female firefighters?
Oh, yes, absolutely. The physical requirements to become a firefighter involve having to pass our CPAT, it's referred to, the Candidate Physical Ability Test, and that test is the same for everybody. Male, female, tall person, short person, older person, younger person, it is absolutely the same. The tasks as involved in that test are several minutes on a step mill wearing a weighted vest.
And extra weights on the vest.
Yep, with additional weights on the vest, dragging a dummy, hitting a device to simulate going through a block wall with a sledgehammer, lifting a ladder, carrying tools, and working your way through a confined space.
Simulating everything a firefighter would be required to do.
Absolutely, yes. And those requirements are the same for everyone, no difference.
Perfect. Well, Heather, that was quick and fast, and you had the right answers, and I appreciate you being
All
in the
right,
department.
thanks.
We're going to do 3 different things for this next question. This next question comes from Nick. Nick lives in Beverly Hills, California, and he wants a shout out to the Beverly Hills Fire Department. So this one's coming out to Nick, Beverly Hills Fire Department from Sioux Falls Fire Rescue. And Nick wants to know specifically about fire investigators, and he wants to know about the training that investigators have to go through to do their job as investigators and figure out the cause of fire. And I have John Daniels, one of our fire investigators.
Yes.
Tell us, what kind of training does a fire investigator have to go through to get your job?
Well, in Sioux Falls, the minimums, you have to be a fire inspector. You have to attend the National Fire Academy 2-week course on fire investigation. You have to do an on-the-job training period for at least 6 months with an inspector. When they go on investigations, you have to accompany them. Reports have to be written, they have to be checked over, and the individual is more or less mentored and graded. Eventually, all investigators would like to become certified fire investigators through the IAAI, and that's a very extensive program which gives the fire investigators a certification, more or less.
So you're nationally certified?
Yes. And that's recognized throughout the court systems and such as expert witnesses.
Oh, really?
It takes more training, more off-duty hours, classes, and such.
Now, you got a brand new truck, and we're going to tie this into our Truck of the Month. Tell us about your brand new fire investigation unit.
Well, this is Unit 51.
Just showed up.
Just showed up last week. As a matter of fact, we got it into full service. It's a F-250 Ford 08 with the cab on the back here, custom made for us.
And what kind of things do you carry? Now, this goes to every fire that you go on.
Yes.
And what kind of things do you have inside? You want to show us?
Well, sure. We started off with a cabinet. We keep our gear.
So,
Each person, we rotate every 4 weeks right now, and each person would put their own specific gear there. We have a compartment in the front where we can keep our personal gear, gloves, hat, keys, things like that you may need extra. We carry also our evidence kits, cones, different lighting. We carry a lot of lighting for scenes because most of the time electricity's off, and so we can't see on the inside.
And it's a night.
Yes, we have a generator also inside. Regular hand tools, electrical cords, a generator inside.
Because you're going into a fire essentially after this building's been almost completely destroyed or gutted, trying to figure out what the cause was.
Yes, we can rely on the power from the pumpers and the trucks, but if we stay there longer, we have to be independent of that. Then, of course, more lights in the back here. On the inside, we carry, on the other side, a lot of shovels and digging, rakes.
Now, people are going to say, what are you digging?
Well, when it comes to fire investigating it, one of the things we do near the end is we'll clean up the floor so contents that fell from the ceiling will be out of there, and we can actually see what the room looked like better when what it looked like before the actual fire started.
And then you can determine almost where it started in the building that way?
Yes. Our two goals are origin and cause. Usually, if you can determine the origin, where the fire started, you have a lot better chance of getting the exact point.
Perfect. Well, John, I got to appreciate it. It's a thankless job sometimes you got to do, but we really appreciate it because if we can get to the cause of a fire, we can hopefully prevent those in the future.
Yes, thank you.
Great, thanks. We have an awful lot of questions about becoming a firefighter for Sioux Falls Fire Rescue, and everyone wants to work for Sioux Falls Fire Rescue. Who's the best person to answer those questions? How about Fire Chief Don Hill? Don?
Hi.
You ready?
I am.
Okay, these are coming from all over, so we got some good people who want to be firefighters, but they got to get through the process. And this first question is from Michael. Michael lives in Des Moines, Iowa, and he wants to know, how do you become a candidate to apply for being a firefighter for Sioux Falls Fire Rescue?
Well, the best way to get signed up for our firefighter exam is to visit our website, siouxfalls.org, and there's an application there for you.
And then they can just go on there, and then they'll be notified when there's a job opening.
When there's a test, yep.
Perfect. This question comes from Nathan. Nathan lives in Morrisville, New York, and he wants to know, do you have to pass a written test to be a firefighter?
Bottom line is, yes, you do have to pass a written test to be a firefighter. It's kind of a long process. Firefighters have to take a written exam, and then there's a physical test, the Candidate Physical Ability Test. It's a nationwide test. Also, after that, then there's an interview, assuming you pass the first two parts. After the interview, candidates are given a score, and we give conditional job offers, and then there's a psychological exam and a medical exam before you can be hired as a firefighter.
So when they get their conditional job offer, That means we're ready to hire them if they pass.
The psychological exam and the medical exam.
Perfect. This question is from Alexander. Alexander lives in Sioux Falls, and he wants to know, how old do you have to be a firefighter?
Well, many departments, it's 18 years old, but in Sioux Falls it's 21. You have to be 21 years old to become a firefighter in Sioux Falls.
So it's 21 the day you apply for the job?
You have to be 21 to apply, that's correct.
And the other new thing we have for this next group is going to have to be an EMT.
Yeah, EMT is a requirement for hiring as a firefighter in Sioux Falls. You have to have that before you apply.
Now, what happens if you have someone who is a former firefighter? Does he still have to go through this whole process if you have someone who's a firefighter in Los Angeles that wants to apply here?
We have a training program that we put all of our new firefighters through, regardless of how much experience they've had in the past. And we train to the National Fire Protection Association standards, and we have a very good training program, and we do train them to Sioux Falls standards.
One of the questions we have becoming a firefighter is going to college or going to firefighting schools. And the one question is from Ethan. Ethan lives in Sioux Falls. Alok lives in San Jose, California. And Jeremy lives in Harrisburg, South Dakota. And they want to know about firefighting schools. Particularly, should they go to a firefighting school, maybe look at a 4-year college? And then the one is about, what about a volunteer versus someone with a college education? And what advice would you have for someone?
Well, all of those things are really, really good. Volunteer firefighting gives you some experience, and also there are a lot of communities that need volunteer firefighters. And a firefighting college is a good thing as well, and we've hired people from Superior in Duluth and from Casper in Wyoming. However, I give people the advice, if they ever ask me, to just go ahead and get a good 4-year degree in whatever field you're interested in, because those kind of skills help you through the application process, they help you through the interview process, they help you when you become a firefighter to be a well-rounded person, and I encourage people to do that. Again, all of those things are good. I would say that a person who gets a 4-year degree has a slight advantage in becoming a firefighter, even though it's not a job requirement, just in the skills that you learn from going to college. And we're seeing more of our new firefighters have college degrees coming on board. Yeah, that is correct. A lot of firefighters have college degrees, and we have 300 to 600 applicants depending on the year. And when you're competing with 300 to 600 people, people with college degrees do have somewhat of an advantage. Great. Well, Don, thanks. Thanks, Jim. It's been great having you on again. Okay. I hope you like the show, and I hope you think about career at Sioux Falls Fire Rescue. Great place to work, great people, and we have a lot of fun here too. 2 last shout-outs. This shout-out comes from John. John is the volunteer fire chief for the Hawarden Fire Department in Hawarden, Iowa. And this one is from Mark. Mark lives in Fairview Park, Ohio. He wants a shout-out to the Cleveland Fire Department. And he even had a station here, but he is with the Cleveland Fire Department. So, you know what you're going to get? Sassy shirt from Sioux Falls Fire Rescue. Can't find them anywhere but here. So, you'll get that in the mail. And keep those questions coming, because this show is all about what you want to know. If you want to know, I'll try and find it out. I hope you enjoyed the show. See you again next month. My name is Division Chief Jim Sedaris, and you've been watching Fire Call.